Welcome to Klamath Bird Observatory's World Migratory Bird Day video presentation. World Migratory Bird Day is an annual, global awareness-raising campaign highlighting the need for the conservation of migratory birds and their habitats. This year's World Migratory Bird Day theme is Birds Connect Our World, and Klamath Bird Observatory proudly embodies this concept of connection, this concept of partnership, this concept of cooperation. At this time, this year, the World Migratory Bird Day theme seems quite poignant. KBO has participated in World Migratory Bird Day for decades. Each May, we take part in multiple events across the Klamath Siskiyou Bioregion, often in a single day. However, this year, we are missing the personal connections we make by being in the field with so many partners and community members in celebration of World Migratory Bird Day and in celebration of our shared love and care for birds. So in honor of these long-standing connections and partnerships, we reach out for bird conservation in this new virtual way, a virtual way that is new for KBO. With this video presentation, we are excited to share with you how KBO is maintaining our momentum, undeterred by COVID-19. Our staff will share highlights from their work to meet the national and international bird conservation priorities. My name is John Alexander, and I am the Executive Director of Klamath Bird Observatory. Welcome, and thank you for watching and for caring about birds. I want to start by thanking KBO's community of partners and supporters. So many of you have reached out with extra support during this challenging time. Thank you. The organizations and individuals listed here contribute as KBO sponsors in support of our community education programs. Today, I want to especially acknowledge the Ashland branch of People's Bank and their staff. Over the past many weeks, People's Bank has been a leader in Southern Oregon, helping so many small businesses receive additional support during this time of novel economic challenge. In this video, you will see how our work is continuing, despite cutting back on the extent of what is a normal Klamath Bird Observatory field season. For the next months, we will be staying close to home to ensure the safety of our staff and our partners, and the safety of the rural communities where we work, the rural communities that are the key to effective bird conservation. Klamath Bird Observatory emphasizes high-caliber science and the role of birds as indicators, and we inform and improve sustainable natural resource management through our mission to advance bird conservation. We use a collaborative conservation planning approach that is fueled by long-term monitoring that provides information about changes in bird populations, in-depth theoretical research that advances our understanding of distribution and movements, and applied ecology that addresses the natural resource management challenges of the day. While much of our work is focused in the Klamath Siskiyou Bioregion of Southern Oregon and Northern California, beautiful, rugged, and biologically rich, our efforts also expand throughout the continental range of the migratory birds that breed in western forests. This map shows a large red mass delineating our region. This map represents the diversity of western forest birds and reflects the biodiversity of this area. Our region hosts a high diversity of the migratory birds that breed in western forests. This map also shows where our western forest breeders migrate to overwinter. And you can see that western Mexico is also a western migratory bird biodiversity hotspot. With migratory birds as a major focus, Klamath Bird Observatory collaborates with many organizations and individuals as part of the Partners in Flight International Bird Conservation Initiative. With support from the U.S. Forest Service International Programs, Environment and Climate Canada, and Oregon State University's international programs, our work also focuses in western Mexico, where we work with the University of Guadalajara, Cuxu campus, the San Pancho Bird Observatories, and many others. Partners in Flight's mission is simple in concept. Keep common birds common and reverse the declines of our at-risk species. While simple in concept, it's quite challenging and complicated in practice, and thus unprecedented partnerships are the key. As such, Partners in Flight works within the framework of the North American Bird Conservation Initiative. NABC forms a broad bird conservation coalition with partners and collaborators working together to meet a set of essential bird conservation priorities. As KBO's Executive Director, I am so very proud to introduce our staff and hear more about how each of them are working to meet these priorities.
Hi, my name is Ellie Armstrong, and I work with KBO's Informatics program in the Avian Knowledge Network, or AKN. The AKN is a network of people, data, and technologies that are integrated together to improve bird conservation, management, and research across organizational boundaries and spatial scales. As part of the national AKN team, I work with many partner organizations to help the AKN meet critical data management and science delivery needs. I also help to manage the Avian Knowledge Northwest node of the AKN by bringing enormous data resources together from throughout the Northwest. The Northwest node is becoming an important decision support system that is helping to drive informed conservation planning and implementation to our region. I invite you to come and explore the many resources that are available on the Northwest node, and also remember that you too can contribute data to the Avian Knowledge Northwest through eBird Northwest.
Hi, I'm Sarah Rockwell, one of the research biologists at KBO. One thing I'm currently working on is the Oregon Vesper sparrow, an imperiled subspecies unique to the Pacific Northwest, which you can see from the map here has undergone fairly dramatic range contractions in the last few decades. KBO is participating in a range-wide study to find out the cause of their population decline and how we might help. This year, we are focusing on completing the critical aspects of the research that can be done with local staff who can travel and work solo at our nearby field site. This primarily includes the resighting. In the last 2 years, we've banded birds with unique combinations of color bands on their legs, like the bird pictured in the upper right. By counting how many of these individuals come back year after year, we can study their survival rates over time. This year, we will also add a GPS tracking study, placing tags on these birds that will allow us to follow them throughout their annual cycle. We're really excited about this because their exact migratory pathways and overwintering sites are not currently known. These new data will be critical to understanding where they go in winter, probably areas of central and southern California, and what conservation threats they might face there. Oregon Vesper sparrows are dependent on healthy grasslands, which are considered a priority habitat for conservation. This leads me to another of the tasks that I'm able to work on from home. So myself, KBO Science Director Jaime Stephens, and Bob Altman, who wrote the original plan in 2000 and is now retired from the American Bird Conservancy, are working together to update the Partners in Flight Conservation Plan for lowlands and valleys in Western Oregon and Washington, with almost 20 years of new data. The revised plan, I have the draft cover pictured here at the right, includes conservation strategies for land managers for oak, grassland, and riparian habitats in our region. Full annual life cycle research of imperiled species like Oregon Vesper sparrow and conservation plans for priority habitats like grasslands align with national and international bird conservation priorities, and KBO will continue to strive to meet those, whether from home or in the field.
Hi, I'm Lauren diBiccari, and my focus at KBO is overseeing the bird banding program, which includes operation of our network of long-term monitoring mist netting sites. Since 1996, we have operated our bird banding program out of KBO's Upper Klamath Field Station. The field station is comprised of 2 historic cabins, which we occupy and operate in cooperation with U.S. Forest Service and U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service partners. This map shows our long-term monitoring sites, which are located throughout Southern Oregon and Northern California. For more than 2 decades, KBO has collaborated with the U.S. Forest Service Pacific Southwest Research Station and many other partners to operate one of the most extensive and long-running banding programs in the country. So why ban birds? Having a bird in the hand gives us access to important information about the ecology and demographics of bird populations that cannot be captured through observation alone. This information is essential to understanding the drivers behind bird population trends. When we capture birds, we gather information about age and sex, body condition, breeding status, and body size, which provides insights into individual health and habitat quality, productivity, and population structure. When we recapture birds, like this 6-year-old McGillivray's warbler, year after year, we learn about breeding site fidelity and annual survival and longevity. The oldest known McGillivray's warbler was nearly 11 years old when it was recaptured and released. Without banding allowing us to recognize individuals, this type of information would be impossible to obtain. Survival data coupled with productivity data helps to illuminate the cause of bird population declines so that we know where to focus conservation efforts. Banded birds are also recaptured or resighted at other stations and by the general public, which gives us information about movements and habitat use beyond the reach of our monitoring network. This white-crowned sparrow was encountered in a backyard in LA County and reported to the bird banding lab. It turns out this same individual has returned faithfully to spend his winters in that yard for the past 3 years. Looking for banded birds at your feeders is a great stay-at-home activity. This year, we are scaling back our efforts as a result of the COVID crisis, but we'll continue to band birds and collect invaluable data at 7 Mile Guard Station and Crater Lake National Park.
Hi there, my name is Kate Halstead and I'm a research biologist with the Klamath Bird Observatory. I've been working with some really exciting AI-based tools which use massive bird data sets, for example, through the Avian Knowledge Network, and satellite land cover data to create species-specific maps of bird distributions and habitat quality. These species distribution models give us a species-centered perspective, a bird's eye view, if you will, of bird habitat. The example on the top of the slide is a map of a distribution model for lazuli bunting in the Rogue Valley. This in turn can allow us to get at theoretical questions about what drives bird distributions in new ways. For example, in our recent paper in landscape ecology, pictured here with co-authors from Oregon State University, in which we demonstrated that these models might improve our understanding of some basic relationships between birds and the spatial structure of the landscape versus traditional ways of measuring habitat using coarse vegetation maps. We also showed for the first time how one could use these models to map patches of habitat for entire communities of birds across a landscape, which we hope could be very useful in future research or conservation efforts. An important application of these models can be to direct limited conservation resources to the most effective ways of conserving bird habitat and populations. This aligns with the National Bird Conservation priority of using science that emphasizes conservation in places and at spatial scales most relevant to birds. On the ground, KBO is using this innovative approach to inform restoration of oak, early seral, and old-growth forest conditions in the Klamath Mountains ecoregion, pictured on the left. And we're also testing this approach in other places, including the shrub-steppe habitats of the North Basin and Range ecoregion, pictured on the right, as well as in the hardwood forests of the southeast United States in partnership with the Forest Service and BLM.
Hi, my name is Caitlyn Gillespie. I'm a research biologist here at KBO. And this opportunity to tell you a little bit about some work I've been doing with Western hummingbird conservation. So hummingbirds are vulnerable to habitat loss and climate change. Their populations are in decline, but they're difficult to study, so there's a lot we still don't know about them. But because they're really important conservation priorities, we've been working with our partners in the Western Hummingbird Partnership to put together a couple of literature reviews The first one, effects of fire and restoration on habitats and populations of western hummingbirds, is hot off the press. It just came out about a month ago, and it's up online. You can read it. It basically goes through all the different bird conservation regions in the West and talks about how fire, both wild and prescribed, and various restoration actions are known to affect hummingbird populations. And in general, hummingbirds respond pretty well to fire, both wild and prescribed, and to restoration actions that promote the growth of native flowering plants. So that literature review is out and available for partners to use and build off of. The other literature review that I've been involved with working with focuses specifically on rufous hummingbirds. Rufous hummingbirds are a charismatic species. They're seen often at feeders. They're also a unique hummingbird species in that they are a long-distance migrant. They have the longest known migration by body size of any bird species. So that because even though they're super tiny, they travel all the way from Mexico to as far north as Alaska to breed, and back again every year. But because they're a migratory species, they require habitat in a lot of different places throughout their life cycle. So not just wintering habitat and breeding habitat, but they also need habitat and flowering plants throughout their range when they're migrating in the spring and then also in the fall. And so the literature review focuses specifically on this species that's experienced some pretty significant population declines in order to identify information gaps and hopefully springboard some conservation planning and research specifically focused on this species to improve what we know about it, so we know more about what to do for rufous hummingbird conservation.
Hi, I'm Jaime Stephens, the Science Director at Klamath Bird Observatory. We're excited to be collaborating on a range-wide connectivity study of hermit warblers. This project is being led by Hankoo Kim and Matt Betts of Oregon State University, and we have local funding support from the Klamath Basin Audubon Society for KBO's role in the project. Hermit warblers are experiencing an overall population decline, but the trends vary across the breeding range, such that in some areas of Washington, Oregon, or California, populations are stable, and in other areas they are declining. We're studying how 7 populations across the breeding range connect to the wintering ground geography to elucidate the potential causes of the declines. Last summer, Hankoo deployed light-level geolocators on over 100 birds, and we worked with him to deploy 14 tags on the Fremont-Wainema National Forest in the Upper Klamath Basin. Since that time, these birds have undergone fall migration, spent the winter in Mexico or possibly further south, and have returned to their breeding grounds in Oregon. The stories of their travels are now captured on the small geolocator that they carried throughout the year. Later this month, we will attempt to relocate the 14 individuals to retrieve the tags. So stay tuned. We look forward to telling you where our hermit warblers spent the winter, and at the culmination of the study, Hankoo's work will have meaningful implications to guide the conservation of this species and possibly other western warblers.
Hello, my name is Jacob McNab. I'm the Director's Assistant and Administrator for KBO. Part of my job is managing all of our contracts and helping us maintain unprecedented partnerships. We have made over 40 different partnerships with federal, non-federal, international, private, and charitable organizations. Currently, we have more than 35 active contracts. These contracts are critical to keeping our science going, and I want to thank all of our partners for their support and collaboration. Thank you.
As you can see, we are far-reaching in our efforts to meet bird conservation priorities, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. This is all a result of the dedication of our staff and the support that we receive from our partners and our contributors. You too can contribute to bird conservation. These 7 simple actions are things that we can each do at our homes and within our communities to make a difference for bird conservation. To learn more, visit 3billionbirds.org. Thank you for joining us, and have a safe and healthy World Migratory Bird Day.